Okay, everybody, we're going to learn a fascinating Kabbalistic class today. Um, it fits very well into those that have been following us on Chitas. So this class actually continues today's Chitas that we learned today, which is the Alter Rebbe tries to explain the aspect of Tzimtzum. What's the concept of a contraction? What Kabbalah talks about contraction, when God contracted himself to be able to come within a physical reality. This is a beautiful Sikha the Rebbe, which I believe that if we all understand this Sikha, we are going to have an opening to the concept of Shabbos, to the real concept of the meaning of Shabbos. What did the Torah want with the aspect of Shabbos? And it's going to be expressed in many ways through the wording of the prayers and the wording of the Torah, that the Torah itself expresses itself about Shabbos. In Parshas Emor, at the end of the Parsha, it talks about the holidays, about Shabbos, about Jews keeping the Yom Tovim, and about Jews keeping the Shabbos. And the Rebbe is going to bring out a beautiful concept in understanding what is the Shabbos. Is it just a day of rest? Did God think that we work so hard a whole week that we need a day of rest? We need to have a vacation. We need a day to relax. And we need a rest. You know, you can't work 7 days a week. You're going to work 7 days a week. You're going to work yourself out. Is that the whole concept of the Shabbos? And God came up with a great idea to have people come home and be home. Did God care about the family? We should come together with the family. Did God care about the I don't know, any other reason that we should eat some chocolate? What was the true meaning of what God wanted with the Shabbos? What the Torah wanted with the Shabbos? So I really believe that this is a very Kabbalistic spiritual journey, and really a spiritual understanding in what the Shabbos is. And if you know it, beautiful. But if you don't, this will open up, I believe, a beautiful insight into the Shabbos, the upcoming Shabbos, that we all know and we all celebrate every week in and out. This class starts on page 58 in your book, the book that you should have, hopefully Torah Studies. And we are going to start with text number 1. This is a statement in the book of Genesis about Shabbos. And this is also a statement that we say on Friday night. And God blessed the 7th day. And he sanctified it. Because God rested. From all the work, Asher bara, which he created, Asher bara elikim, which God created, la'asos, from all his work, or la'asos, from his work. So God, in essence, to take the verse in its simple term, God worked for 6 days. He was creating for 6 days, and he rested. He sanctified it, and he rested on the 7th day. And since he rested on the 7th day, We rest on the seventh day. God needs to rest from his work. What is the meaning that God rested on the seventh day? What does that mean? God doesn't work. God doesn't have to rest. What is the meaning of the statement of what we say? Again, we say this every Friday, Friday night. So, what is the holiness? And also, what is the holiness? God blessed the day, and He rested. He sanctified it. Of course, He rested. You think of the words. He sang Kadosh also. He sanctified it. He Vaishavas because He rested. What does sanctity have to do with rest? And what does rest have to do with sanctity? So really, what's the meaning of this verse? So let's go to text number 2 on page 58, same page 58. Rashi tries to explain this concept. What is the meaning of rest? Rashi says, Mahoya Elam Chasar. What was the world missing? God created the world in 6 days. He finished everything in the world. But the world was missing something. Something was lacking. There was a piece missing in the puzzle. What was the piece missing in this puzzle? So Rashi answers, it's a Gemara actually, Menucha. There was missing rest. Missing rest. Menucha, tranquility, rest. So Ba Shabbos. So the Shabbos came. Ba Menucha. Once the Shabbos came, Menucha came. Also v'nigma mlacha. So with this, the work of creation was completed. The last piece of the puzzle was completed. So it's not that God worked for 6 days and he needed rest. No, rest is something that God brought to creation, according to Rashi. Not that so it's a whole different interpretation. In a simple interpretation, God worked 6 days and he rested. Like we work for 6 days, we're tired, we're overworked, we rest. No. Rashi says that's not the meaning. The meaning is that God created rest. He created rest in the world. So that was a concept that God made in the world. The concept of rest, menucha. So that's a whole different interpretation to this meaning. So that means God did something on the 7th day. He created the aspect of tranquility, rest. So what is this creation? What is the creation of rest? What is the meaning of Rashi? What is this action that God did on the 7th day that he created rest? So what does it mean? What is the meaning of this whole concept of Shabbos? Shabbos is the concept of rest. Actually, we see that on Shabbos is not per se the concept of rest. Rest would be that when you go on vacation, you go away, you go to a place, you wake up when you want, you roll out of bed late. They're going to do that on Shabbos. Shabbos, you might not go to work, but you got to go to shul, and the davening is longer, and the speech is longer, and you should learn on Shabbos. and you should sit down with the table, not just to go to sleep. You should sit down and make a suda. You have to have not one meal. You have to have 3 meals on Shabbos. This is the process. We work harder for the Shabbos, the meals on Shabbos, than we work on any meal during the week. We might a whole week take a bite here, a bite there, rush out there. No, Shabbos, all the work that we do for the meal on Friday night that our wives do, and then the meal takes a couple of hours. This is not a restful day. I would have considered this a very restful day. Is I'll jump into bed, see you Saturday night. I'm gonna take my relaxation. No, Shabbos is not totally that you have. There's obligations. You gotta make kiddush, and you gotta do these all a lot of things need to be done on Shabbos. So it's not such a restful day. There is an obligation. What's the meaning of this whole thing? What is the true meaning of rest? So here the Rebbe brings down a concept, a Kabbalistic concept that is truly phenomenal. And the Rebbe's interpretation to this whole thing is truly phenomenal. I hope I can do justice to it, because I hope I will not blow it. So the Lubavitch Rebbe explains what happened on the 6 days of creation. God created the world. He created the world. How did God create this world? Kabbalah. We read the Parsha in Genesis. The whole creation is in, I don't know, 8 verses, 10 verses. There's not too many verses. It's very, very short. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8 days. 6 days fly by. And God said this and God said that. It was this and that. And God is happy. Creation? We're still trying to figure out creation. And God knocks it in a very short. How did God create the world? How does God, who is infinite, that's what we believe, Ein Sof, God who is infinite, create a finite, come into a finite entity, and have a creation of a world? The question is even further and much more deeper. As Jews, we believe the Torah tells us that the world is God, and God is the world. The statement that Moses says, "Ain't oid milvad," there's nothing really reality in the world. Everything is God. So when you look at something, you see it, a physical thing, it's really godliness, because everything is God. And God, why? Because since God is infinite, and God is united with the world, and He's one with the world, so everything you see is godliness. If everything is godliness, how is it possible to be a world? How is it possible for a world that is totally godly to be physical? How did this come about? How did this concept happen? God is infinite, and the world is a very finite entity, a very coarse. Kabbalah says the world of klipot. It's a world that can go ultimately even goes against godliness. How is that possible? How is that possible? Doesn't make sense. Sounds like a total contradiction. So therefore, the Alter Rebbe introduces us to the concept which Kabbalah expresses, the aspect of tzimtzum, which in English it's called contractions. So let's look at text number 3, which is taken out of the Alter Rebbe's Tanya, Shara Yichud Ve'emunah, which we are also learning on Sunday, but this is chapter 4 of Shara Yichud Ve'emunah. So the Alter Rebbe says as follows. Listen to the words. It's very, very deep words over here, the Alter Rebbe says. God's power of restraint is the quality of tzimtzum, concealment, whereby he withholds his great expansiveness and prevents it from descending and being revealed to the created being. That's what we call the Shem Elokim. We know that there are basically 7 names of God, but the 2, like in the Shema, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Elokechem. So you have the name, or you have the beginning of creation. Bereshis bara Hashem, Bereshis bara Elokim. In beginning, Elokim, which Chassidus says means the attribute of severity. Teva has the same numerical value as nature. So what is the meaning over here? God contracted himself. Rather than animating all creation openly, he operates in a concealment to create the impression that the created beings exist independent from God. So God creates something. And the way he creates that entity is by concealing himself within this created being. And because he is so concealed and so hidden within this entity, that gives the capability for the entity to even think that he is self-created, that nobody created him. He created himself. So the created being has no independent, but really the truth is, without the godliness that's within him, there's no true existence to this created being. He would not be here without this existence of God that gives him that capability to be here. Nevertheless, the restraining power of the omnipresent God conceals the spiritual life force that flows from him, so that not to nullify the existence of the created being. God wanted that every human being should be human, should be a physical entity. So think about it. Think about the statement. On one hand, the Alter Rebbe explains that God is the creator. Not only created, the human being and everything physical is reliant on God. Because without God, this entity has no existence. But then God conceals himself from the human being, and that gives the human being the capability of self-existence. To think he has self-existence. That his life and his life force and his existence is reliant on him, on himself. We talk ourselves into that our existence and our total is reliant on me. I'm reliant on God. I'm reliant on myself. It's up to me. If God would reveal the truth within me, I would automatically realize that without God, I have no existence. I wouldn't be here. There's so many examples that I gave a different example today in the morning. There's some examples that are given, like take light, the sun, the light of the sun. See, this gives the analogy of the light of the sun. So the light of the sun gives us light, but too much light we couldn't see. That's why we have to buy sunglasses. Because too much light it also hampers our sight. So we wear sunglasses. Doesn't change the light. It changes the capability to me to handle the light. God, so to say, puts sunglasses upon us so that we can handle the light. And some of us have very thick sunglasses that we almost can think there's no light. Now, in this concept, if you have a question, please unmute yourself. Ask anything you want to ask. Because this is self-understood, very deep stuff. So this hiddenness is self-understood, many different levels of hiddenness. And in general, of the way God hides himself, so to say, this light hides himself. And in general, Chassidus says that there are 4 levels in creation. Doimim, Seimeach, Chai, Medaber, inanimate object. Seimeach is vegetation. Chai is the animal world, and Medaber is the human. And there you have, in an inanimate object like a stone, you basically don't see any kind of life. You don't see any kind of growth. You don't see any kind of living entity in it, even though this stone has a living, has an energy like the plants or like the animals, like a human being. But you cannot see it because it's really hidden. And then in the plants, you can see the growth, you can see its beauty, how the energy flows through it and gives birth and gives growth to it, and it grows different vegetables and fruits, and then it goes, it might die and it comes back again. And then you see the animal world, where you see even a more concept of a living concept, of a living aspect. And then ultimately, the highest level is a medaber, a human being. So let's look at the wording of this class, page 60 in your book. Let's look at the wording of the Alter Rebbe, chapter 38 in Tanya. The fusion of God's light, which is the life force of creation, is not equal in all created beings, in the balance of its concealment and its revelation. In a physical and inanimate bodies, such as stones and soil, the light is most restricted. The light force is so minimal that it can't even grow. By contrast, divine light and plant life is less restricted. Generally speaking, there are 4 categories: the inanimate, the vegetation, the animal, and the human. The diffusion of divine light and life force in the inanimate and plant life cannot be compared to the light force in the animal and the human kingdom. So therefore, ultimately, everything comes from God according to this. The only difference is, again, revelation. The revealed concept. In an inanimate thing, it's less revealed. In a vegetation, it becomes a little bit more revealed. In the animal field movement, it becomes more than that. And ultimately, human being, it's the ultimate revelation in the physical. Now you have in the human being itself, you can have many aspects of revelation. So if you understand that, everybody got that? If we comprehend that concept, God in essence did every day another concept of contraction. Sunday created the water, and this, Monday the earth, Tuesday, so on and so forth. He contracted himself in different forms and different aspects and different ways, and through his contraction, he brought about another aspect in the physical world. And ultimately, on the 6th day, God created the animals, and then he created man. And he gave man the capability to be a human being. Because he hid himself from the human in the same way like he hid himself from everything else in creation. But self-understood, he told the human that you have the capability to have a greater revelation. I don't want you to have too much, because then you will lose your human side. I want you to have to the best of your ability, its capability. So now, if we can have, just like God hides himself, so to say, that God hides himself, he contracts himself, and he hides himself from humanity, that means in the same way, God can reveal himself to humanity. Just like it's in the negative, in the name of God of Tzimtzum, which is Elohim, God created the world with the name of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, which is Chesed, which is giving, which is revelation. So where do we find the revelation of God in creation? And that's the Shabbos. The Shabbos is the revelation of God in creation. So that's the meaning. This is such an unbelievable teaching. That's the meaning. God sanctified because he stopped concealing. He rested from concealment. When God rested from concealing himself, from tzimtzum, you have revelation. So that's the way the Siddur explains it in text number 5. This is a statement of the Rebbe Rashab, the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe. The concept of divine rest. Listen to these words, powerful words, in the understanding of the Shabbos. The concept of divine rest is to refrain from tzimtzum. God said, for the 6 days that I created this world, I needed to contract myself. I needed to hide. I needed to hide. I needed to hide. I needed to hide. I can never reveal myself. Now I'm going to rest from that. I'm going to give the capability of revelation. I'm going to give the capability of myself revelation. And that's why it's a holy day. Because God, in essence, on Shabbos reveals himself. So if you understand this concept, it's not something that happened once in history. It happens every Shabbos. Every Shabbos, the Eibishter wants a person to work 6 days a week. He goes into the world, he's obligated to work. And in the concept of creation, so he has to basically create more physicality, which hides godliness. The more the physical things that he creates, the more the physical entities that he brings in the world, thus creates the concept of hiddenness in the world. And then Shabbos, you have to rest. Stop. Stop your own tzimtzum. Just like God stopped the tzimtzum. Stop. Let yourself reveal yourself. Reveal who you truly are on Shabbos. Just like God revealed himself on Shabbos, so too he asked a Jew, reveal themselves as a human. Reveal yourself on Shabbos. Stop with the physics, with the world. Stop with tzimtzum, hiding yourself. Reveal your essence. So let's look at the wording of the Rebbe Rashab. The concept of divine rest is refrain from tzimtzum, from this contraction. As it's written, Elohim completed on the seventh day. Elohim, the name of God that represents God's capacity for restraint and concealment. He finished. And on Shabbos, the tzimtzum implied by the name Elohim expired. And God rested from the act of tzimtzum. God said, I'm not going to mitzamtzum myself anymore. I'm not going to contract myself anymore. Something similar occurs every week on Shabbos. On this day, God rests from the act of concealment, and divine light is revealed without the veil of tzimtzum. That's why Shabbos is a whole new day. That's why you understand why Shabbos is not called, not only is Shabbos really the seventh day of the week, but it's called Shabbos. Because it's a whole different reality. It's not just another day, a continuation of the day before, the sixth day, the seventh. No, it's a Shabbos. It's a Shvisa. Shabbos comes from the word rest. Stop. Stop. God says, I stopped doing my concealment. I'm revealing who I really am. Stop also dealing in concealments. Reveal who you really are. So God rested from the acts of concealment. And divine light is revealed without a veil of tzimtzum, making us aware that we are standing before the King. The word that we say, you see, I didn't say it over here, but we say it on Friday night. Vayechal Elokim bayom hashvi. Vayechal Elokim bayom hashvi. Vayechal Elokim in the simple interpretation means that God ended on the seventh day. The Rebbe Rashab said, Vayechal Elokim. Tzimtzum ended on the seventh day. Vayechal Elokim. The ending came to the so to say, to the name of Elokim, which is the concept of Gevura and Tzimtzum, of contraction, of hidden. That came to an end on the seventh day. Because then God revealed himself. God stopped doing the aspect of concealment, and he gave us a day of revelation. A day of revealment. How do we express that? In so many ways. In so many ways, the Gemara and the sages that we're going to show you, in so many ways we express this concept. So the Gemara in text number 6, this is the way the Gemara expresses it, Talmud expresses it. Neshama Yeseda Nitu Be'Ba'ad B'Erev Shabbos. An additional measure of the soul is given to us on Friday afternoon. And it's taken away from us on Saturday night. So here you see, the Gemara says openly, you have a greater level of revelation of yourself. The Shabbos simply gives each and every one of us a greater soul revelation. And you're going to lose this revelation on Saturday night. So that's why it says, this is derived from the verse, on the seventh day, Shabbos Vayinafash. He rested and was refreshed. The Hebrew words form an abbreviation for even Shabbos. Since he rested, Vay of the Nefesh, which means on Sabbath ends, whoa, our additional soul is lost. We are, since we rested on Shabbos and we used that, we revealed our additional soul. That's why it's a vay, it's a woe. That's nafash. We lost that soul on Saturday night. Because on Saturday night, we go back to tzimtzum. We go back to the contractions. We know another analogy that's given is that Yaakov and Yisrael were the two names that Jacob had. Jacob had Yaakov and he had Yisrael. And God keeps those names. He doesn't say after he changed his name to Yisrael, you shouldn't use the name Jacob anymore. Because by Jacob, both of their names are important. The whole week he's Jacob. Why is he Jacob? So it's brought down. Because the whole week he's like he's holding onto the heel of Esau. He's trying to get the blessings. He's trying to fool the world, fool everybody. He's trying to hide himself. He's in the struggle. And then it comes Shabbos. His name is Israel. And why his name is so? I've struggled with everybody and I have overcome. I am victorious. I am who I am. I don't need to hide myself. I don't need to put on a show. I am who I am. That's the beauty of Shabbos. I'm resting from the hiddenness. I'm resting from the challenges. I'm resting from all this work in the world. I'm revealing who I really am. And that's why it says in text number 7, the Alter Rebbe says on page 62 of your book, it says our sages instituted a ritual of smelling spices at the end of Shabbos to revive the soul, which is melancholy at this time over the departure of the additional soul. Additional soul means that they're not given to us additional hours of the soul. We settle the soul and share it with a pleasing fragrance. So that means whether you feel it or not, we are melancholy, we become depressed when we finish Ma'ariv, the evening service. And we have now, our extra soul has left us. So now we're back to the nitty gritty world. We're back to the grinding week. And therefore, the Baruch Hashem, the Eibusha said, we have a mitzvah to smell some, give us some reviving of the soul, like you give smelling salt to a person who's a faint. Text number 8, the Gemara says, the Medrash says, a person's face is incomparable more radiant on Shabbos than the rest of the week. These men are more powerful, the Gemara. The Gemara says, La halacha, according to Jewish law, a person cannot lie on Shabbos. That's what the Gemara says. Can't lie on Shabbos. Because your neshama is so powerful on Shabbos, it's not possible to lie on Shabbos. So he brings here a story on page 63. In Warsaw, we lived 3 houses away from the Mazurchita Shtibel. Mazurchita is a dynasty, a Hasidic dynasty. They are known to have beautiful songs. They sing beautiful songs. The Mazurchita Negenim. Then I would go to the Mazur Shtibel for the Shuda Shlishis, the third meal on Shabbos. They would sing all the Zmirats, all the songs on Shuda Shlishis. 4 Jews would be seated around the table in the Shtibel. I knew these Jews well, and I constantly spoke with them. They were sincere, pious Jews who willingly sacrificed for their spiritual commitments. I once spoke with one of them. He was frail and short, constantly carried heavy metal pieces. I wondered where he got the physical strength to support this weight. His load was always tied around him in a thick cord. He totally resembled a kogi. Holy during the 19th and the 20th century, the Koli was a term for indentured servant, indentured to a company, mainly South Asia or China. I don't know what that is exactly. On the Shabbos, I saw this very Jew, and I did not recognize him. He came over to me in his tattered kapota, was covered with endless patches, and even patches had patches. And his face shone with the joy of Shabbos. I recognized in a tangible fashion that a person's Shabbos countenance is totally different than his weekday appearance. I will give an example. Try to eat cholent on a weekday. It doesn't taste like Shabbos food. Cholent on Shabbos is a different kind of a reality. It has the ingredient of Shabbos. But over here we bring another example, the power of Shabbos. When a couple gets married, there's a mitzvah to do Sheva brachas, 7 blessings. Moshe Rabbeinu instituted 7 blessings that we do after every meal for 7 days. So after the wedding, you're supposed to have 7 days of celebration. And you need 10 people. To be able to make the Sheva brachas, you need 10 people, 10 men to be there. So look at the text number 10a, page 64. We chant the blessings for the bridegroom in the presence of 10 men for 7 days. Rabbi Yehuda said only if there's a new face arrives. That means every day past the wedding, you have to, when you invite people over to the Sheva brachas, you need to have a new person that was not by the wedding to be part of the Sheva brachas. And if you don't have a new face at the wedding, at the Sheva brachas, you can't do the Sheva brachas. It's called a panim chadoshes, a new face. Because it has to be like a new thing. To be able to make these 7 blessings, you need to have it to be like a new thing, a new, whole totally new thing. So every night, whichever family is going to make or whatever you're going to go and make the Sheva brachas, you need to invite somebody new. On Shabbos is also considered a new face. On a day that you don't need to have a new person is Shabbos. Shabbos itself is considered a panim chadash. Everybody has a new face on Shabbos. Look at the Rebbe says in text number 10, on Shabbos, there's no need for a new face. For a Jew's face is incompatible, more radiant on Shabbos than during the week. So every Jew on Shabbos is like a new face. Our radiance renews on Shabbos and confers upon us the status of a new face. And therefore, you don't need to have, according to Jewish law, a panim chados. So here, the Rebbe explained us, according to Chassidus, the whole reason of Shabbos and the whole meaning of rest on Shabbos. Totally a new concept. Rest means to reveal yourself. That's the meaning of rest. Rest does not mean to go to sleep. That's why we don't rest on Shabbos. That's why we have a Suda on Shabbos, we make Kiddush on Shabbos, we go to Shul on Shabbos, we learn on Shabbos, we hear Kiddush. We do much more on Shabbos than the rest of the week. Because we need greater revelation on Shabbos than the rest of the week. The capability to have true revelation and true connection to God and true connection to each other and true connection to family is on Shabbos. Because that's the day God said, I revealed myself. And since everything is in the world is I, therefore I give him the capability within the world that everybody can reveal themselves on Shabbos. They can stop hiding from behind other veils and they can all reveal themselves on Shabbos. We all have the capability to have a new face on Shabbos, which we don't have the rest of the week. We're going to end off with the next two paragraphs in text number 11 and in text number 12, which is the statement, it's part of that sikh of the Rebbe. The Rebbe says as follows on page 65 in your book. There are two poles that are expected of a Jew. In the 6 days, when the Torah mandates that we concern ourselves with the material body, working is a mitzvah. Nevertheless, on Shabbos and Jewish holidays, when a soul is more radiant, we must transcend our bodies, its concerns, and its nature. It's self-understood that work is out of the question on these days. Because on these days, on this day of Shabbos, there's revelation. That's why we have to work a whole week. Because a whole week, there's no revelation. And therefore, go out there, work the world. Go out there, work the world. Bring revelation. You have to work hard. That's why the whole week we take the concept, we do a mitzvah with it, we take the concept, we make a bracha, we take the concept, we then use it for tzedakah, all like doing something for something else. So we go to work because we gotta have a beautiful Jewish home. So really the work is not important, really the home is important. Why you need to have a beautiful home? To have a Jewish home. So really the home is not important. It's the Jewishness in the home. So everything is there for something else. Shabbos is there for itself. The day of Shabbos is the day of revelation, which is there for itself. It's not there for something else. That's what the Rebbe says. Text number 12. Resting on Shabbos doesn't mean absence of work. You're making a mistake. Not only do we work to serve God on Shabbos, but our work is also in a higher order. We must therefore conclude that resting on Shabbos means to work in a manner that is restful and delightful. That is to say, it's not considered laborious, it's at all, because it's a pleasure to engage in such work. As a human being, especially a Jew that was created to serve God, that's the best day. That's the most pleasurable day, even though you're working. It's all about serving God. It's all about being who we really are. What can be more pleasurable than, first of all, to be given a day to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu? That's what we were created for. And what would be more pleasurable than to have a day that we can reveal ourselves and not hide behind other things? And therefore, it's a pleasure to be able to daven more. That's who we really are. To be able to learn more, because that's who we really are. To be with family more, because that's who we really are. To be with community more, because that's ultimately who we really are. So it's a lot of work, but it's pleasurable work. It's enjoyable work. A simple example. We were given permission to gather as many gems and diamonds as we could. We would spare no effort to carry the heaviest load that we could possibly lift. Though this would entail strain and toil. Perspiration, you're gonna sweat. It would be considered strenuous it would not be considered strenuous or burdensome. We would run all to do it. We would all enjoy carrying up as much as possible. On the contrary, a heavy load, the heavier the load, the more delighted we would be. busier the Shabbos, the more you're not just laying in bed on Shabbos. The more you're learning and davening and being with friends and with your family and eating together and praying together and learning together. I believe at the end of Shabbos, you're going to be very tired because it was a long day of a lot of work, but it was a great day. It was a beautiful day because that's the way it should be. That's the real way it should be. Not the Sunday, not the Monday, not the Tuesday, not the Wednesday, not the Thursday, not the Friday, but should really be the Shabbos. It should really be a situation which is a day of revelation, a day of revelation of godliness, a day of revelation of humanity, a day of revelation of the relationship of a Jew with the world, and the relationship of a Jew with each other, and the relationship of a Jew with a God, which all happens one day a week, the day of Shabbos. That is the Sikha of the Rebbe. It's a very powerful and beautiful Sikha of the Rebbe. You should, if you have the book, you should read these paragraphs a couple of times, these texts, and get it down. Because it's really a beautiful concept of Shabbos. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, you may ask. This week, we're starting a very powerful class, a new JLI class, 6-week course. This can happen. This is a course about the coming of Mashiach. And it's usually on Thursday nights at 7:30, but it's going to be tomorrow night at 7:30. We are sending out a PDF file of this class. If you can get the book still. I'd call the office at 487-2934. If you want to try the class for free, you can anybody will send you a PDF. We're sending out a PDF to everybody of the class. You can come on tomorrow night and try the first class for free. I hope that will inspire you to continue the 6-week course that this JLI put together for us. It's going to be a really inspiring journey for the next 6 weeks. This week is going to be Wednesday, and next week is going to come back to Thursday. This class can be done either in the Chabad house itself. We're going to have it in the social hall, sitting separate and with masks, self-understood, since we're in the building, or on Zoom. You can sit in your house and listen to it on Zoom too. So you have those two options. As I said in the synagogue, the Lubavitch Rebbe begged people to learn about the coming of Mashiach, and that will inspire us. And maybe through learning, as the Rebbe will say, through learning, it will happen, and Mashiach will come, and it'll be a better future, Be'ezrat Hashem, for all of us, for Am Yisrael, and for the entire world. I wish you all a good night. A really busy week. Tomorrow, as I said, there's a class, and then on Thursday, we're having a Lag BaOmer picnic celebration at the South County Park in the West Boca. It's gonna be rides, and there's gonna be a barbecue, and there's gonna be a lot of fun, and everybody's invited to come. It's admission is free, and all the rides for the kids are free. Thus, the food will cost you some money, but everything over there is going to be free, open to the public. Yes, you can get a book tomorrow night. My pleasure. So not only will I see your face on the Zoom, I'll actually see your face actually there. Mashiach is coming, Baruch Hashem. I'm really happy already, and you have made my night. God bless you all. I just you should call the office 487-2934 and seclude a book for yourself. I have the books. I have to make sure I have enough books for everybody. Okay, God bless you all. Have a good night, everybody. It's a beautiful sikha. I hope you enjoyed it. And God bless you all. I hope you all, in Mitzvah, this coming Shabbos, have a whole different atmosphere and a whole different understanding in what God wanted us in the keeping of Shabbos. Have a great day, everybody. Have a good night. See you tomorrow morning, also 8 o'clock. We continue the Tanya of the day. So learning never ends. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you so much, Rabbi. It was beautiful.